to infinity and beyond.
What's up, everyone? It's Roger and James here, founder of the DisKingdom podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking all about why video game companies go quiet. If you're unaware, I'm currently with Marvel Heroes Omega. There is kind of some issues going on in the background where the game company has pretty much gone quiet. They did put out an announcement on Friday. They usually have a weekly update where they kind of say what's going on. They're saying basically, we were also here, we're just not announcing anything. They've lost a couple of the community members. There's allegations against the CEO. And basically the whole game's gone really, really quiet. The trouble is, on the PC side of things, the PC community is already extremely frustrated because of what's happened with the console launch, little content. The PC base has just been dwindling week on week. And so if you go onto the community groups, either Facebook, Reddit, the official forums, Twitter, basically at the minute, the apocalypse is coming for the game. And there's a lot of bad, but there's so much speculation. The game's being sold, the game's ended, the game's, we do not know what's going on. And that is kind of something that I've seen before. And we've seen this before a number of times within games, where game companies will go quiet when bad publicity hits or if there's a problem. Often, sometimes Disney Legal or Marvel Legal will basically put a lockdown. They've not really said anything publicly on social media for about over 3 weeks now. There was supposed to be a full Ragnarok upgrade with new characters and some new content. It even went up on the PlayStation and Xbox blogs, but they ended up being pulled down. The Loki got released, but there was no fanfare to go with it. That was kind of the start of it. Now, as I said, this sometimes can just be on the lines the companies go quiet. Whenever there's something bad hitting, they will just shut down. They have been responding to like media. There was a couple of different interviews where they were talking, and they sort of said, "No, everyone's still here. Everyone's still working. We're just not saying anything at this time." But like I said, we have seen this before. I've seen it with other games. Lego Dimensions, a Prime game, where they sort of pretty much stopped development on year 3, and they just pretty much just put their head in the sand and didn't say a thing for about 6 months until eventually all the big video game things were putting out so much content about it being gone. They eventually had to put out a little message once they've released everything. They didn't do it before that. Disney Infinity, we saw numerous occasions where when the reaction from the community wasn't very good, they just went silent. Trongate, when they released 2 digital characters, there was bad reaction. Ant-Man was announced, and then they didn't announce him, which then, they didn't announce that one till literally a week before the character came out. We knew for a year ahead, but they didn't, and they just went quiet on it. There was other issues where they just went quiet, and we've seen it with other companies as well, where the best policy is no comment, do not say anything. The trouble is, I think now we live in a world of social media where everyone expects answers now. They want updates now. We do not, they're expecting that constant. We find it. You find it on news media where the media, the news are all standing outside of currently at negotiations for Brexit. They want updates every single hour of the day when they're still having conversations. There's nothing to report, but because of the way that the media is and social media, everyone wants to know now. And companies quite often will just go, we're not getting ourselves into any more problems. We're just going to shut down for a bit.
Yeah, and that's, from their perspective, often the best cause, because it's much better for them to have people angry at them for not talking than it is for them to make a comment about something, the next hero, don't worry guys, the next hero in Marvel Heroes is going to be Thanos, and then, a couple days later, we actually don't have permission to do Thanos. It's going to be Venom or something like that. Yeah. Because now you've made a promise, and now the players are like, yeah, you promised us Venom. Yeah, even if they don't promise something, fans, not just of Marvel Heroes, but of games in general, look at No Man's Sky, for instance. People are like, yeah, all these things were promised. Like, no, you kind of made that up. Yeah. And then people bought it, and it became hype in the thing, which isn't to forgive No Man's Sky for its many sins, but there were many bits to that too, where the community was like, it's going to be able to do this, and the developers weren't prompt enough in going, it's not actually gonna do that, guys. Please stop saying that.
No, I mean, Lego Dimensions was kind of the opposite thing of they kept communicating like there was no issue. At which point, every single time they made a comment or a Facebook post or anything, people were coming in afterwards and being like, "Well, is the game cancelled? What's going on? Do not buy." And then they're warning other people in the comments, "Don't buy it." And we're kind of in that zone now of. The trouble is, the no content or the no contact, no news information in a world of social media, it actually becomes louder, and then speculation starts coming up. I mean, in one way, it does damage control by not saying anything, not giving any other issues. The other problem as well is that it can cause bigger issues because rumors just go. And that can sometimes be worse because I've seen it now. You look at the PC numbers on Steam week on week. They are worse now 3 weeks later because people are now basically saying, do not buy any content. Do not spend any money because you don't know what's going on. That's never a good thing.
Yeah, the PC numbers, I was just looking at them for Marvel Heroes. At its peak, on its daily peak is like 550 members, which is tiny. That's absolutely minuscule even for this title. Now there was a slight bump very late last night for some reason. I don't know why that was. Maybe it was just people popping in, and keep in mind that's only the PC numbers. It's not for Xbox or PS4, where it does seem to at least be a relatively healthy population. But as the speculators will be very quick to point out, that's not necessarily a paying population. We've already seen all sorts of indicators that there are money problems with this game. One that we've discussed plenty of times before. Them literally coming out and saying we will no longer do direct sales on costumes because we can't make enough money doing that. So they all go to loot crates. That is not something you should really be telling your player base. I mean, I appreciate the transparency. Don't get me wrong, but from a business perspective, you should not be saying we're not selling this because it's not making enough money.
I mean, there's been a lot of things in the past about their communication skills, and the trouble is now, and it's not just with this. I think it's like with a lot of games of where they announce stuff, not just they, but companies announce stuff to try and get things hyped up, and things get delayed, things happen. There's other things of like games coming out and people going, well, why aren't you telling us and keeping us updated constantly? Because if we don't do it, you then moan. But if we do it, it's like lose-lose. Game development takes a long time, takes a number of years, and people aren't necessarily going to know the minute everyone's signed on. And having constant upgrades, bar putting a webcam above every single member's thing so they can watch. We're in this world where we all want that constant news feed, and now in hindsight, like going quiet maybe is not the best answer to the point of going completely silent, but we do not know what's going on. There is that kind of thing of saying there's no news or just ignoring it. You're just poking the fire rather than dealing with it. And I don't know now if this approach needs to be different with social media. And this really comes across every kind of business because, if there's bad publicity about any business, quite often the business will just either go, there is no comment, or here's an official statement, or there's no comment at this time, or just not. It's not just in games, it's every business that this goes through. And then sometimes businesses have to put out an announcement and all the rest of it. It's not abnormal for businesses to do this because they're not, at the end of the day, they're not people, they're a company. And it's just the people within it then have to kind of be zipped up again, which is hard in this era.
And it's also worth keeping in mind, a lot of the individual people, like if you're talking to the developers, you're talking even to the PR guys, they might not know what's going on because it might be decisions going on completely above their level. I worked tech support for several years for a web hosting company, and it would be one of those things where we would have an issue. A trunk line would go out or something, and as a frontline tech support, we'd just be like, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. We will update you as soon as possible. And it wasn't because we didn't want to tell you. It's because we had no idea what was going on either. Someone did, but not us. And, of course, on the customer side, you're like, no, I need to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on. It's the same thing right here. These people who are not tweeting, they're not tweeting because either they've been told not to, or I think more likely they've got nothing to tweet, and making any sort of announcement just puts them in the bullseye.
Yeah.
So
it's very difficult. It's that kind of thing of, I wanted to touch on this subject, but at the same time I was like, we actually don't know. We do not know anything, and because of that, this whole thing of speculation of what it is and stuff is not really. I don't think it was right, but I felt like silence in some ways needed. I felt like it was almost this thing of, well, I've seen this before with games, and it's not abnormal. It's not. It's whether or not it works nowadays is something that we can all discuss. But at the same time, people need to and people as a general have to understand that there's not always right. If you are in the middle of a negotiation or you're in the middle of something going on, you can't always let everything know. It's we see it with politicians and stuff. Sometimes it's like, actually, you at least need to sort of shut up and go fix this, and then come back and tell us when you've decided something, rather than using it as a buffer. It's a very difficult situation. We do not know. Obviously, once we do know, we'll kind of obviously touch on it because we don't know what it is. But no news doesn't necessarily mean good news, but also no news doesn't necessarily mean the sky is falling. There can be something very different going on.
I mean, they could be working on the biggest update ever, version 2.0, which a lot of PC players would definitely be like, please don't do that. But for console players, it might be there's an update in the works that will improve all the little issues that add up into bigger problems. I mean,
November was supposed to, I think end of October, beginning of November was supposed to be when Omega hit the PC. Maybe they just had some major issues, and it's just, I don't know. We just do not know what it is, and so until that point, we're just going to be sort of, everyone's just speculating. Nobody knows what's going on, so we'll find out when it happens. But we'd love to know what you guys think of when companies go silent. What do you think about it? We'd love to know your thoughts on it. As per usual, you can subscribe, like, and follow whichever platform you're watching or listening this on, and also remember to check us out on our different social medias to keep up with all our latest stories. James, where can they find you?
Find me heroiclegacy.com.
And on that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. See you guys soon. Later.